welcome, or welcome back to my channel. My name is Court, and if you didn't know, I went to art school once upon a time back in 2018 when dinosaurs roamed the earth. I graduated in 2022, but in the year of 2017, I was applying to art school and I was making my portfolio. And so I thought it could be fun to take a trip down memory lane for my own sadistic purposes to look through the work that I submitted. And hopefully, this will be helpful. I'm going to try not to be super disparaging toward myself, but I am also going to be giving myself feedback that I kind of needed maybe at the time that I didn't seek out from my teachers or anything because I was scared, to be honest. Briefly, I do just want to say that my Kickstarter for Saints for Girls Volume 1 is still going on. 60-page graphic novella about the start of the best emo band known to man, Saints for Girls. It has Reed Carpenter Has a Bad Day with a new comic, an exclusive sticker, and there's options to get comic pages, original drawings, your name in the book as a thank you if you want it. Half of any profit will go to local organizations around me. And so we're at 60% right now as I record this on the 12th. And so if you are interested, I would appreciate you supporting it. You can check it out in the description. I will also give a little context about me. I did not grow up in a very artistic environment. I grew up at a small town, went to a normal public high school with a poorly funded arts program. I didn't do any pre-college programs or portfolio workshops or anything. Didn't get any scholastic keys. Didn't know that was a thing until after I graduated. I did take AP art in senior year, and so some of this stuff I made for that, but it was back when AP art did breadth and concentration, which they don't do anymore. I think they changed it after you know what in spring 2020. So I would say I could do a video going over my AP art portfolio, but honestly it's worse than this. So I don't want to do that. I guess for context, the only AP class that I took that I did not get a 5 on was AP art. I got a 4, which is still, passing, and I got college credit for it. But yeah, it wasn't great. So yeah, I applied to 2 schools when I was applying to school. I applied to Maine College of Art and Design, which is where I ended up going and graduating from. And I applied to a safety school. I grew up in southern New Hampshire, and so I applied to Franklin Pierce University because that is the town that I grew up in. And so I figured I was going to get into that. I applied really early to Mecca. I looked, and I think I submitted my application like during Thanksgiving break or something. So I guess I got heard back really early as well. And then I just kind of decided not to apply to any other schools, which I maybe wish I would have done differently, but it is what it is. We are going to look at all the pieces individually, and then we'll look at it as a whole, and I could give some kind of portfolio advice. This is not really like a art school advice video necessarily. I think that deserves its own video. But here we are in slideroom. This says requirements 1 to 25. That seems wrong. That seems inaccurate. I feel like the range that I've seen is 12 to 20. And so I submitted 17, which is middle of the road. You can take a quick look overall. I will also say, do not copy my homework. Maybe, some of the pieces, whatever. Like, I don't really care. But you'll see the descriptions are really bad. So don't copy my descriptions. And also my titles aren't good. But so here's our first piece. This one is called Pride. In case you didn't know, but it's okay. It's cute. It's earnest. Yeah, and so we'll open this. I'm gonna open this in a new tab actually. So I think it's an interesting angle. It does very much read as I took a selfie on my phone, which I would maybe not recommend. I think I've gotten better at choosing better reference photos and different angles. I did have teal and pink hair at the time. I'll put a picture up of the reference photo that I took because I was able to find it on my old phone. I think the colors are interesting. I get that the whole thing is it's supposed to be rainbow. I maybe wish that there were some areas that were a little less saturated, just because I feel like right now it's all kind of blending together as being super, Lisa Frankish. I can see that my brush control has gotten better, which is interesting because that's something that I haven't personally like clocked when I'm working, but you can see like some of these little, especially I think in the hair up here, the way that I was controlling the pen pressure was not super successful. I don't know. It looks awkward. And I think some of these really kind of itty bitty lines are unnecessary. I think we could have kept it a little bit thicker. It looks a little too tight, I think. But yeah, I mean, I think I captured the glasses well. I think I like this like yellow ochre on the chin for whatever reason. I wish that I had kept in the bathrobe of the picture that I took because I think that would have been more interesting context. I think you'll kind of see throughout several pieces, but I just was not really interested in drawing clothes at the time, whereas now I like drawing clothes and I think they're fun. But yeah, I tend to choose the kind of path of least resistance, which I think makes the works kind of less interesting. But it's not the worst piece that we'll see. Let's put it that way. I think also the background, I maybe wish I had done it dark instead. I don't know. Maybe that would have looked bad too. But yeah, I think that's kind of all I have to say about this one. It's fine. The blending could have been done in a different way. It feels almost like when you put like a posterized filter on something and like it's making the levels artificially, even though I was doing that all by hand in, I'm assuming, Paint Tool Sci. But again, not the worst piece we'll see. This piece is called Origami. I had made it for a t-shirt competition for a band called Vinyl Theater because they had an EP called Origami come out. And again, we'll open this in a new tab so we can really see. I don't love this one. I think the most successful part is the actual kind of fracturing going on in this left eye, their right, our left eye. I think that's really cool. And I almost kind of wish the whole piece was done in that style. And the color palette's okay as well. I believe this must have been one that I maybe did in RGB, and then the specification was that you have to submit it in CMYK. It has the vibe of something that used to be more saturated but lost its shine due to the printing requirements of CMYK. I think overall my feedback for this is that it's kind of meaningless and a little awkward. I like the pose. The pose is really awkward. I don't know what this is supposed to communicate. Again, another instance of the black t-shirt showing up. The anatomy is a little weird in this kind of area. It makes it look like there's not enough cranium. It's just not right, basically. It looks like they're like a wax figure melting. It's also not super clean. There's little dots from whatever. It's funny. I thought I had done like a manual stroke on this, like a Photoshop stroke layer filter. This looks like I actually did it all by hand, which was maybe a waste of time. But, it is what it is. And yeah, I think I don't really see the connection to origami. If it was actually on a t-shirt, I don't really know where the text would have gone. I hadn't taken any like graphic design classes, 2D design classes, so that wasn't really something that was on my radar. Now that I've done some t-shirts for Orville Pack, I have a better sense of how designing for a t-shirt goes. But yeah, again, I mean, it's not the worst, right? Like, it's okay, but I think also something that would have improved it for the sake of putting it in a portfolio is to actually put it on a t-shirt mock-up, even if that was just uploading it to like Redbubble, just because I think showing that you are thinking about the end result of where an illustration like this goes to an admissions counselor, I think they would see that that's exciting. You're thinking about where your work can live, but I don't love it. Next up, this one is called The Heights, and I've actually pulled up another tab so we can look, but basically, this one was inspired by this album by a band called Knox Hamilton. I literally don't even know if they're still making work anymore. I don't know if they're still around, and I don't even know how I found this album, but I was just like into it. And so we can see it's very derivative. It's inspired by the album, and I put that kind of in quotes, but it's mainly inspired by the album artwork. And I think for a portfolio, I would not recommend doing this. Luckily, I think the band was so obscure that it wouldn't have raised any flags. If I had done, Blurry Face by 21 Pilots, that might have sparked something in the reviewers' mind more. I also just don't think it's a super strong illustration. So if it was like really strong and different enough from the original artwork, maybe that would be a different story. But it's kind of boring, and it is color picked from that original artwork. Yeah, it's just kind of a girl who's standing there. Actually, I think she might have been an OC that I had at the time. Now that I'm thinking about it, I can tell you her name. But yeah, again, kind of meaningless. I feel like I was having a hard time thinking about what I actually wanted to say in my artwork, and so therefore said kind of nothing at all. The contrast isn't great. The darkest spots are the pupil and then this kind of purple Fruit Loop, but otherwise everything is the same sort of tone. I'll put in a black and white version on top of this so you could see, but the contrast just is not right. And you can even see down here, I put a little line of blue around this so it could stand out from that pink that I put in the background, but it's just not great. I would have scrapped this one. I don't think we need this one. That weird like quasi tangent with the cloud and this hair here, would not recommend. And I say that I looked at the album artwork here. Yeah, I just think I would recommend, if you want to do something like this, take it in a direction that's far away from the actual existing album artwork, because I think that shows your creative thinking more. This one is called El Esqueleto. I really liked Spanish class in high school, and so I think we were on a field trip to, I want to say, Margaritas or something. It was like so New Hampshire Public Education Corps. There was a little ceramic figurine of a skeleton that I saw. And so I wanted to do like a texture study of it. And I think this one might be my favorite of the Actually, the next one's probably my favorite digital one. I have a fondness for this one. I think I was able to capture the texture well. I'm glad to see that I was using like a textured brush. I think that's something the last two especially could have benefited from. But I also just really like texture, so that's just me. And yeah, I think this bottom corner down here, it's a little over-rendered. I find myself drawn toward this corner when like we should be looking, at the hat and the face. Lowering the contrast in that little part would have been better. It also just generally looks a little unfinished. I think it could have used another hour in the oven, so to speak. Again, not bad. I think it's okay. It just needed a little more time to cook. Jessie voice. This one I did for my high school yearbook. Yeah, we were the Orioles. You'll see that again in like 2 slides. And yeah, my thinking behind this, I don't think I put this in the description, but my thinking behind it was that all of our mascot stuff was so masculine. Like, I get it, obviously you're a school basketball team, so you want to intimidate whatever team's coming to play you or whatever, but Orioles are cute little birds, and so I wanted to paint a cute little bird for our yearbook cover, and I did. And I think it's pretty good. I think the only thing I would say is that I wish there's maybe a little like reflective bounce light of some gray on the belly here. I think that would have contributed, because I like this green, but like the orange is really orange. And again, it's a little messy. There's like little parts that I just like didn't color in fully. And also I did include like the full government name and the year on here. For the sake of submitting it for an art portfolio, I would have covered this up or removed it just because it looks a little unprofessional. I think for an actual like printed thing, it's fine to include. But yeah, and the text is okay. We'll see in the next one some worse text. So, this cursive's fine. It's a little, I wish it was maybe smoother. I wish I maybe had done it on paper and then took a picture of, I don't know. It feels a little digital stabilizer in not a great way. But Yeah, I like this one. I think it is my favorite of the digital work. Here's another one that I wish I just scrapped. Yeah, so this one is Ferdinand the Bull. We read this in Spanish in my Spanish class, and I wanted to do something children's book esque, which just doesn't. It's not really. Would this be the cover? Would this be an interior illustration? I don't know. I think it would have been better to do some character design sketches of Ferdinand and doing some like different takes on what he could look like and what the environment could look like, because as is, it's a little twee. It's a little boring. This cursive is not good. It's really wimpy, and especially compared to like the light color of the background, it's kind of hard to read. And yeah, I think it just shows maybe my lack of knowledge of like what goes into a children's book illustration. And so for that reason, I wish I had scrapped it. I also just don't think it's a great digital illustration. Again, some like contrast issues. I don't know. I just think it's kind of boring, and it doesn't really show my creative thinking. And plus, the text is a follow up by reference, so therefore immediate disqualification. Nah, I'm just kidding. But yeah, don't love that one. Oh, this one. This one, in my art class, we were asked to pitch and make a mural for our gym's gymnasium. And like I said, we were the Orioles, and my sketch ended up getting picked, and we did it. I have a lot of thoughts about this. Starting with the initial sketch, the documentation is not great. I didn't have a great phone at the time, but still, I should have taken it by a window and took it another photo. I had pirated Photoshop at the time, so I should have put a levels layer on it, get the white of the paper white, and then the final sketch, I think it was kind of doomed from the start, right? Because the pose is awkward. Like, it's hard to tell what way the bird is flying, or like, I don't know, it almost looks a little taxidermied. Like, it looks still in motion. And so I wish, maybe the body had a little bit more of an angle to it. And the head is a little awkward. I think, honestly, doing something full profile, so we could have gotten like the full bird beak and then some flapping wings while still getting the ball in there, that would have been a lot better. And it also shows a lack of understanding of line weight. I think good line weight can help differentiate importance and the weight of an object and where it's positioned in space. But here, the line weight changes rapidly, and it just makes it really weird and confusing. Like the line weight of the wings compared to like this little bit on the chest here, just weird. And then it gets really funny on the wall. It gets even worse. And on the wall, it was a group project, right? I think there was like 5 of us painting this thing. It just, yeah, we struggled. We didn't have like a projector or anything, so we were just like freehand drawing it. I think the only improvement on the wall is that the basketball, we mixed a different color for it. That's definitely an improvement. And again, the pose, I mean, the tail gets kind of lopped off in a really sad way. Here, the wing ends awkwardly. I don't know why we weren't allowed to just continue it. Like, there was more blank wall over here, so we could have just continued. We also did lettering for it. I don't know why I didn't include that in the documentation. I think it said like the bird's nest over here or something. So I should have definitely included that. I don't know why I thought like, I can't include text in it. That's just too much. We need to focus on the bird. And yeah, again, not great documentation, though I'll blame that more on the gymnasium lighting. It is funny. You can see this like broken bleacher. I don't know why I thought all this context was so important for it. Is it a good thing that I included it? Sure. Not everybody gets a chance to paint a mural, and so I think that is a little bit interesting, but the actual mural itself is kind of ass. This one is called Rib Cage. This was charcoal and soft pastel on paper. I think it was like 16 by 20 or 18 by 24 or something. It was decent size. I really like this one. I think it has a good value range, even though it's not black and white. But I think I used the colors that I had really well. And I think having the black background was a successful choice. I think we got some, interesting kind of abstract things happening where the black is showing through. I think a little nitpick would maybe be just crop a little bit off the top and a little bit on the side here. Just because this like big black shape is a little much overall. I think it's okay. More than okay. I think it's pretty good. This one, oh boy. Had to drink some water. That's how you know it's serious. This was the first really big self-portrait that I did. Yeah, my first serious self-portrait, as I put there. The actual piece, it's either like 18 by 18 or it's 24 by 24 inches. It's acrylic on canvas. It was the first canvas that I painted. I will start with some good things. I'll be charitable and we'll open a new tab so we can really zoom in. I think generally the color mixing on the skin is good. I wasn't using any like convenience colors, so I think I was able to capture, a good range in my skin tone. I like the kind of texturing I did here going into the hairline. I think that's pretty good. And I do think it also, it looks like me or it looked like me at the time, age 16 or 17. Now, for my constructive feedback, the square is a devious shape. It's hard to make a square look good, and I'm not making it look good here, I would say. The green is generally, I think, distracting, but especially like down here, this whole 25% on the right side could be cut off and it would be improved. And also, like, I could have literally just cropped the photo too, I guess. So I don't know why I thought the green there was so important to keep. I think the hair is not great. The pink hair is not great. The hand is awkward, I think it's partially because I also chose, again, a black shirt instead of anything more interesting to wear. If you were actually doing this, there would be some folds on the shoulder here that would help communicate the gesture that's happening. Also worried, is the hand backwards? No, I don't think it is. There's just something about that. And also, I think it's a little bit darker than the skin up here. And so it looks like it's somebody else's hand when it's supposed to be mine. Actually, another good thing, I think I actually did capture the brush really well. It's like weirdly well rendered. And so I think the biggest kind of fault of this portrait is that it is not very interesting conceptually. I think the idea that I like painting or making art is implied, right? Because I made a painting. So it's putting a hat on a hat. We already know that I like making art. The self-portrait could communicate something else about me that is not being communicated already by the fact that I'm painting it. Definitely a missed opportunity for a band shirt. Again, I think I was just a little lazy or intimidated by doing that, but like it could have added so much life to it. And I pulled up this Norman Rockwell self-portrait, and this is Hydrogen Bomb versus Coughing Baby, okay? I don't expect any 17-year-old to be at this level, but I think this is an interesting take on an artist making a self-portrait. We see multiple angles, we see his full body. It's a really interesting pose. We get to see the lean into the mirror, and I think it does say something it says a lot about him and the way that he worked. He has all these brushes on the floor and like a burnt cigarette coming out, and he has like this cup on this stool, and so we get a sense of other projects he was working on. And I think also the fact that he's wearing glasses in real life and then not in the self-portrait, that's interesting because it's showing something about how he is editing himself for art, and then of course like making the art of him making the art. Like, this is meta done well. And so obviously I don't think I needed to do all of that for this, but I think if you want to make something about the act of making art, you do need to think a little bit more just about how you can approach it in a way that is a little more interesting. It's something you haven't seen before. This just feels very, I want to say derivative, but I don't even know if I've really seen anything that looks like this. Not in a good way. And also, again, what are these little black dots, man? Get rid of those. Paint them over. It's like a weird triangle. Maybe that's the secret meaning. This one is called Senioritis. This is the only oil painting that I had done at the time. It was kind of small. It was like 9 by 12. I think it's the closest we're getting to a narrative sort of painting, which I do like. I do have a lot of problems with it. I hate the hair. Let's start there. The hair is just not very great. I think from the end of the eyeliner vertically on the left side here, this stuff's pretty good. The anatomy's okay. Wondering where like the other bit of the pinky is, but you know, it's all right. Over here on the right side, what are we doing? Like just the anatomy. Actually, I guess like where this shoulder's coming in, it just doesn't make sense, really. I should have asked a friend to do this pose for me, but I was insistent on doing it myself. Even though I think I was inspired by like, there was like a girl I was following on Instagram, and then also like my friends around me because we were seniors at the time. And yeah, again, boring outfit. This shirt is like blending into the background, and then the pants just create a void down here in the bottom right corner. And the emotionality is at like a 4 or a 3, and it needs to be at like an 11. We need to dial it up, Spinal Tap style. I just think the actual narrative is not very strong. And I think along with the emotion in the face, that could also be improved by the kind of set dressing, you know? Like this diva is giving me a Cookie Monster pajama pant vibe. So maybe something like that with like a sweatshirt on that has like toothpaste stains, and maybe she has like a stack of books next to her and a blank piece of paper in front of her, and maybe there's a cat. Like there's a lot of things, and of course some of these ideas are really cliche as well, but it would have been something you could have added to it. You know, why are we at this like Minecraft table with this red chair when we could be in one of those metal desk chair combos that you see in American high schools? I think that would improve it. Yeah, I think the fact that it was oil paint was tripping me up. You know, it's my first time really getting used to the medium, and so a lot of things could have been improved by doing, again, just like another sketch. I wish my teacher would have pushed me more to do some more thumbnails, because I really, and this is not just me, I think a lot of students, younger students, struggle with this, just struggle with being one and done, where it's like, okay, I do one sketch and that's gonna be the one, when you could try another one or 2 or 3 and see if it is better. And it might not be, maybe the first one is the good one, but here, I think it could have been improved. This one is called Mi Hijo, aka my son. This is crayon on paper. I think it was just in my sketchbook. I was in Boston with my dad, and we got a little succulent in this like 3D printed pot. And so I drew it. I like the colors. And I like the mark making. I think, you know, it's a bit more expressive than a lot of the other stuff we've been seeing. And so I think that's good. I wish I had taken another photo, because I know for a fact I used a photo reference for this. I wish I had taken another photo, because I think the fact that we can see 3 fingers is awkward. I wish we could see some of the other 2. And I also don't love the background. I think the black is really distracting, at least with the crayon texture. I think if we had done like a flat black, that would be one thing. Or if it was a different color crayon, that would be another. Like, I think it does help it bounce out, but like it's so distracting. The texture's just too much, but it's okay. I don't hate it. That's all I can say about it, really. This one's called Fall Leaves. This was gouache and watercolor on paper. Again, kind of big. I think it was at least 12 by 16. Might have been a little bigger. These, we went on like not a field trip. We went on a walking trip in my art class, and we took some photos in the wilderness on the trail near our high school. I like the vibrancy of the colors in these leaves. Again, I think it's just kind of boring. I think that's my biggest problem. It's just kind of boring. I think the bottom third is not really necessary. I think I was struggling with having to make it so big, and so I was kind of caught between trying to be really tight and also expressive with this water media. And so I wish I leaned into, you know, some of these textures more, because I think that would have been more interesting and more exciting. I was like really worried about, I don't know, proving my proficiency, I think, and I didn't want any of my pieces to look sloppy or like unfinished. And so I think that lack of willingness to experiment was a detriment to my portfolio, because I think schools are more excited by students who are willing to try things versus a student who's not willing to, try things that might look bad. This one is called White Noise, another school assignment. My teacher asked us to get at least two things, I'm assuming, and create a still life with it. I picked this little necklace that I had slash have maybe somewhere. It's from a band called Paris. They had an album called White Noise, which came out 2014, and I got this little necklace that has the mirror from the album artwork on it. And then in the background is the set list that I got from seeing Panic at the Disco in 2016. And so I do think on that level, it does say something interesting about me, even though would a person who doesn't know either of these bands be able to like recognize that as this? Probably not, but whatever. The rendering's pretty good. I think the reflectivity in the necklace is pretty good. The drawing of the actual necklace, it looks a little melted. I also think kind of my biggest problem with it is that this chain back here, I wish I had taken a better photo with a different kind of composition for how that chain was laying, just because it looks like a big old blob and you can't tell it's a chain. And I think on the part that's closer to us, when it gets abstracted, I think this part down here is pretty yummy actually, but back here is just a little too vague. And I forgot to say this for the last one too. Terrible photo. The paper was not blue, and so like it's overexposed in the top right and underexposed in the bottom left. This one has a similar issue. Again, I didn't have a great phone at the time. It was like 8 years ago, but I wish I had taken a better photo if I could have. But it's pretty good. I would say it's pretty good for like, high school level. It's fine. This one is called Doc Martens. You'll never guess why. It's because I drew my Doc Martens. I can't remember if I said the last one was graphite on paper, but it was. This one is scratchboard, which I think is a good choice. I think it's an interesting medium. Not everybody uses it, but it really forces you to think about the value and also the mark making. And so I'm glad I did this. And I think it's the strongest piece in my portfolio. I kind of wish I had started with this one, because not only is it strong on a technical level, but it says something about me, because these were the docs that I was wearing like every day for 3 years straight, basically. My only thing is that I wish this whole background back here was just black. And, maybe we could have a little bit of an outline on the back of the shoe, or we could just let the negative space kind of do the talking. It's just distracting back here. I think up here or at the bottom edge, this lightness makes sense. And this, it's just too much. But that's a nitpick, because otherwise, I think I did a good job capturing the different textures and the different lighting, and I still really like it. I think it's good. So I don't know what Mecha's figure drawing requirement is now, but I think at the time there was some sort of requirement where we had to have 3 pieces drawn from life. One of them had to include figures. And so these are my figure drawings. I had never done any figure drawing ever, and I think it shows. I just was not familiar with like how you're supposed to break down the body, the quick poses versus the fast poses, what you're supposed to be capturing. I just didn't know, okay? I would recommend, if you're able to, if you are looking to apply to an art school, to try to find some way to get to a figure drawing class. Look at like your local community college, see if they have any classes. If there's an art center near you, they might be doing it as well. Of course, the ones that are usually more accessible are the ones that are usually for adults, and the models are nude. If you can get, a parental consent to take that, I think it's really valuable, and you'll learn really quickly because you'll do a lot more. These kind of were the only 3 that I did, and I think that was at a disservice to myself, because I didn't have the option to pick like my strongest. I just had to like use the ones that I had. They're just not analytical enough. They seem disinterested of actually capturing the gesture or the forms. They're just not great, but that's okay. That one I blame on being a little naive and just not knowing exactly what they were looking for, I could have asked my art teacher. I think that's my biggest thing. And it's not like I had like a great relationship with my art teacher. So I was just so scared of being told what I was doing was wrong that I didn't ask at all, even though what I was doing could have been improved if someone just told me. This is called lanyard. This was the lanyard that I got when I saw Panic at the Disco in 2016. I think it's weird that I didn't just include the band name. What copyright infringement was I gonna break? I don't know. Like it just seems, it makes like this one especially feel awkward because clearly there's something that's supposed to be there. This is another graphite on paper, I think. Right? Yeah, graphite on paper, direct observation. I think that's not true. I feel like I did take pictures of some of this stuff, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I did do this from direct observation. Yeah, I think it's good. It's a good assignment. I was assigned it by my art teacher to take one object to do kind of 12 different views of it. I think most of them are pretty good. The only ones that I think are kind of weak are this one in the bottom right. Like, what's the point of this? And maybe this one, like second in from the left middle row. But otherwise, I think all of them are interesting, good value range. I guess actually maybe this one too is a little light. I think the other ones that are more successful have a better, like I wish maybe I dangled the cord across it or something. But it's fine. And then our last piece here, this one is called Fjallraven. Because I did get a Konkin, back in the peak art ho era or whatever. You don't know shit about that. But yeah, I think I did it in my sketchbook, but it's just graphite on paper. I remember I had study hall, and so I was sitting in my Spanish teacher's class because she let me, and I drew my bag. I lost that little dragon keychain maybe a week after I did this, so I'm glad I was able to memorialize it here. But this one's good, and especially because it was direct observation, like I think I did a good job at capturing it. My only kind of overall compositional note is that it does feel like it's a cropped in drawing versus a drawing where the edges have been considered fully, especially like this top edge, little tight over here, little tight. So I wish I'd maybe considered how I wanted to actually compose it on the paper a little bit better, but not the worst for sure. I think it's another one of the kind of stronger pieces. It's weird because I had like a thing about black and white where it felt like it wasn't me, and so I didn't want to do a lot of black and white stuff, but I think the black and white work was really strong. Like I think these four are like some of the best that are in my portfolio, at least on a technical level. And so yeah, we'll exit here and we'll look at it as a whole once more. So the structure I had done based on medium. I did it digital first and then some mixed media, traditional media, and then ended it on the direct observation pieces. I would recommend against this. I believe the meta nowadays is to kind of sandwich the pieces that you think are less strong by pieces that you like more at the start and more at the end. So you start strong, end strong. Starting strong is good because whoever is reviewing your portfolio for admission is looking at hundreds of these probably. And so it could be 4:59 on a Friday and they're tired and want to just go home. But if you put something really strong, it'll kind of capture their attention. And then same with the ending. You want to end strong so that way when they're thinking back on the pieces they reviewed or the portfolios they reviewed, they'll remember yours. And maybe I did a little bit of that here too. But yeah, I think in general, it's okay. I mean, it worked out, right? I was admitted to Maine College of Art and Design. I got a scholarship. I didn't get the BFA full tuition scholarship, to be clear, but I did get a scholarship which helped cut down on some of the tuition. I remember being really devastated that I didn't get the full tuition scholarship at the time, and I didn't fully understand why, but looking back now, I'm like, oh yeah, I get why. And I think it's just because I was scared of expressing myself fully. I think I didn't know what I wanted to say, and if I did know what I wanted to say, I was scared about how it would be perceived, and so I kind of curtailed myself and didn't really lean into my interests and what I actually liked, and I think the portfolio kind of suffered as a result. And so to you, if you are working on your portfolio, I would recommend taking bigger risks. Not everything has to like look like it's museum ready or something. You can try stuff out and explain what you were going for. And I think schools will appreciate the fact that you tried something that's outside of your comfort zone. And I think really think about, what are you excited about? What are you excited to talk about, to make, to think about? And you don't need to know all the answers just yet because you are still starting out in your artistic journey. And so you have a lot of time to kind of work on that. But if there's stuff that you care about, and that could be big stuff, it could be meaningful, world changing stuff, or it can be really mundane. It can be more subtle and not groundbreaking, but stuff that matters to you. And so I think I would just really encourage you to make the work that you want to make first. And don't think about how a school is going to look at it until after. If you do that, then you'll get in your own head and the work will kind of suffer. Just make work you want to make. I think it's, good to draw from life and to, do some figure drawing. And it's good to show your capabilities technically, if you have them, where you have them. And so I would suggest including work that's strong in that way. But you can also include work that is strong conceptually and less strong technically. And it is still very valuable. And yeah, I think that's it from me. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, let me know. Tell me what your favorite or your least favorite piece is. Be curious to know. I would suggest looking at my Instagram or my YouTube or my website if you want to see what my work looks like nowadays. It looks different from this. And yeah, let me know what you want to see in the future. I have kind of a running list of video ideas, but otherwise I'll catch you next time. Peace.